suspected more people would be lost. And one day he would lose his command, but not before getting everyone killed.
Hmm. Well, it does sound like his change of personality has stayed, if he remains so gung-ho about everything he does. But I have another question. What of the man's intellect? Do you did you ever fancy him to be someone who could be a tactician? It definitely doesn't sound like he
Well,
thought through going through a storm so much, but is
he
there
was
some
a
wisdom?
he was aggressive, courageous even.
Mm-hmm.
And a man can do a lot with courage, but wise. I suppose he started surrounding himself with people who were more clever than him. That's a mark of a good leader, I suppose. If you can't do it yourself, delegate.
Definitely
But
no odd looks around the room suddenly from Gregory.
but
Right.
the man himself was had more courage than sense, if you know what I mean. At first, it was nearly harmless, but after what happened to the captain, it seemed to possess him, little by little.
Hmm.
More adventure, more risk, more glory. Well, glory always comes at a price, my lord, and is rarely paid by the glory hound, if you know what.
I do, despite my own desire for aggrandizement. I understand when it's wisest to pull back, but if this man is so, well, aggressive, as we keep saying, it's a wonder he's gotten so far and so well. Especially if you, especially without any sort of ringing endorsement of his vast tactical mind. I'm sure he could perhaps have learned in the intervening years, but
Well, he did
sailing through
strike.
storm.
Before I left, there were rumors that he was striking a friendship with one of the kings. In fact, I remember a visit by someone my last few days. Didn't get the name, but he
Mhm.
seemed important.
Of
If you
course.
can make if you can make good friends at court, I suppose you can well go anywhere. I also heard that he might have been, or that someone claimed it. There was this other incident where a cousin of his, well, we were a port here, claimed that she was a very important person. At the time, he was a lieutenant, and he seemed to be embarrassed by her. Um, Even shouted at her once. Very strange. I mean, she had this sort of air of nobility about her,
Hmm.
or at least someone who knows how to put on airs, if you forgive me the expression, my lord. But his reaction was so, how's the word, I suppose, visceral.
Oh
I hope, I
dear.
hope that I hope that's the word.
And what became of her? She's still here?
Never, never heard from her again. She claimed to be his cousin. Claimed that she was somebody important. There was a lot of shouting.
Hmm.
He shouted her down and shied her away, and then that was the end of that.
Very interesting. Well, I'd like to maybe know more about her, but it sounds like maybe not too many people knew her well.
At least no one in the crew have heard of her.
Hmm.
The Marines took her, escorted her out very quickly. So I can't say, and for better or for worse, I did not pry. Maybe I
Fair
should
enough,
have.
of course.
That's
Hmm.
all I know, my lord. Wish I knew more.
No, you've done well, and I've enjoyed hearing of your stories regardless. Then I suppose while we're here, if there's anything else you'd like to say, I'd love to hear it.
Oh, I guess I can
even if
invite you to
only about
dinner.
something as simple as yourself.
Oh, I have nothing to say, my lord. I served my years. Back then, I wish I served more, but I'm fine. I'm occupied. Do my
I
own
can
little
see
fishing,
that,
but that
and I just like look over to all the children.
they're a mouthful. Talking of which, of course, you are invited to dinner. You and your party. I mean, we don't have much except mostly fish and fish, and when in doubt, some fish.
A fish with a side of fish. Well, I think I may
And he
take you up
chuckled.
on the offer. We're already in town. We may stay the night. Uh,
And
but
he shouts to somebody, it's like, Leonard, Leonard! And a youngish teenage badger comes and is like, pull the axe away. We're having dinner in a moment. And then tell your mother to prepare dinner. Like, yes, father. And he picks up the axe and he looks about 13 or 14. And he goes, I guess they have a shed or something to put away the tools, and that's what he
yeah,
does. And you're invited to dinner. If you accept, there'll be dinner.
yay dinner.
The family is the parents, grandparents, uh, apparently, and also a brother who is married. So the collection of kids seems to be shared. Uh, Most of them are uh, Charles' kids, about four of them,
Hmm.
out of a total of six, including
So
Leonard,
they're
who
a
is the.
set.
So, but the other, there's about two more that are of the younger couple, the brother. Uh, so yeah, it's a large house and you know, something larger than just a nuclear family in this situation.
Of course.
Slightly bigger. The food is fine. You know, it's a fine restaurant. They're not fine dining, but it is delicious for those who enjoy their fish, soup and all. And you know, there's not a lot of wine, but there's meat and ale. Do you stay late? Do you leave for town? What do you do?
Uh,
Um,
well,
they
we'll
do
pro-
offer lodging, but you know, with so many people here, they would have to shuffle people
yeah, that
around,
would end
and
up being more than imposing. So I'll go ahead
yeah.
and take myself to town after dinner. But I have some good conversation with them. It's nice to see such a wonderful and happy family.
Yes.
And I suppose then once we're on our way out, I'll probably end up talking to everyone and going, well,
Mhm.
this has been interesting. Well, I don't doubt that the Admiral's accomplishments, maybe, but it seems maybe they aren't entirely his own. That is already at least somewhat apparent. But
He seems quite ambitious.
this cousin intrigues me. What is that about? He's
Look, you're the authority here. Are we gonna go arrest him or what?
arrest whom? The Admiral?
Well, yes.
On Well, we don't have anything to do such on him yet. We need to find an avenue to continue our investigation. This strange cousin seems interesting, and I wonder if there's anything of his heraldry that may bring us to some sort of conflicting engagement. That said, I'm not sure what other angles we could take.
Well, this is the base of the Royal Squadron.
Hmm.
So if you wanted to talk to other people who may work with or know the Admiral, this probably would be the place to be. He's usually stationed in the capital himself because he is, after all, the the um the boss of the Royal Squadron. They're basically Royal Navy,
Yeah,
but this is where many of the ships are stationed. So
okay.
this is what he would actually, when he goes to sea, he would operate from. His captains are here, etc. You know,
And the question I have, his family is from this town too, right?
as far as you know, yes.
Okay. While I'm in town, maybe I could see if I could check some records, see what his family is like. So I'm going to do that sort of research, I think.
Yeah, that would be a mind search. Are you going to talk to people, or are you going to do a search for documents? Does that depend whether you use gossip or another skill?
Well, search for documents would be wonderful, but I think maybe we'd have better luck talking with people.
Okay, then that would be a mind gossip roll.
Okay, and I keep forgetting which one of us is actually the best at gossiping.
That's Spencer.
Yeah, so Spencer, I can go ahead and assist you.
But I also have a way with the common people.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm sitting on a D8, D6.
We haven't sold back our local knowledge yet, have we?
No,
Have you not?
I
I
have.
haven't.
I have locating spells.
Yeah.
I sold it back.
The locating spell will be interesting if we need to find something later on, but at least right now we only need to ask.
Note to everybody here, Harmon is no good talking.
Alright, here's my attempt to assist. You will get an extra d12.
Yay.
Alas, I'm not a team player, but I do have a way with the people, so I would only give you a bonus D8. Yeah, so we start mingling among the people.
2 successes.
I have yet to roll.
Okay, sorry.
Is it mind or will with the gossip?
It's with the gossip will be mine, because you're not trying
Okay.
to impress people so much as you're trying to just pick up rumors.
There's my roll. Holy shit.
Oh yeah. Okay. The story that Timar tells you, you do find, because some of the old sailors have served in many ships and served together. You first find that they verified the story, and you follow that trail, right?
You mean when he shot that captain early in his career? That story?
No, the story about the well, that one is easy to confirm, and also the one about the lady who claimed to be the admiral's cousin.
Oh yes.
So both of those stories check out. The shot ran out, etc. Most people have come to believe that, as improbable as it was, stuff happens, right? I mean, guns are dangerous, and unreliable. So, while unlikely, it could have happened exactly as the admiral, and people here are positive about the admiral, right? And so they almost always put a good spin on it. It's like, well, he's a brave man, he's a good man, right? He leads. He, for example, led to a pay raise about 3 years ago to the average sailors of the Royal Squadron, which always makes people happy, right? People remember that. And there's also the tale of the lady, right? And you follow that story, and you meet, and again in a tavern, as usually does these things, with a former Marine. And Marines really literally are, soldiers stationed on ships, right? That's what the Marines are. They're not. We're not talking about modern Marines. I guess they can do landings, but not in the modern sense, D-Day style. Although technically that was the Army, but let's not get into that nerd hole. But he's also been retired. He's a much older gentleman, probably close to his, now going to his 60s. So he would have been about 55 years of age at the time that he's aboard, that this happened. So we fast forward you being in the tavern. Either you're talking to him, either Spencer is directly talking to him, or the team is there around this person. You decide how you're going to approach this. Who's going to be the point man talking to this?
I guess Spencer, since he's been making the rolls, and we've been trying to locate people and talk to people, we finally pointed him over there.
All right. Sounds good to me.
He says his name is Mark, Mark. Short, just Mark. And you say, is it short for Marcus? It's like, no, just Mark. So, and you're having this conversation. It's like he says, basically saying, yes, I remember the lady, well dressed. She insisted and needed to talk to the captain at the time. I don't know what she was what for. I was asked to escort her down. She harumphed and went back into her carriage and sped away. I do remember the captain was extremely upset. I never seen him so angry. We didn't battle together. And yet, never like that before. Never saw the lady again, I'm afraid. Whoever she was. I didn't even catch her name, if I recall correctly. I guess it wasn't my duty to do that, but here we are. And he asked for another round.
Hey, another round.
Yeah.
So tempted to read his mind, but there might be better targets later tonight.
I mean, you
Somebody
can still
who's
just
actually
ask
smarter.
him further questions, maybe.
Yeah. Well, did she have any distinguishing features that would make her easy to recognize in the crowd?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, she was a lioness, like the captain was a lion, and the admiral, I suppose. And she did have this yellow ribbon tied around one of her ears. Let me see. He actually recollects. Why is that significant to him? No, only like a tiny little bow tied around one of her ears, but nothing more beyond that. She did speak in a southern accent, though. Like she's from the Southern Isle.
Oh, so of the Isles, but not this one.
No.
Hmm.
Again, very interesting.
Yes, I do find the Southern Isles to be somewhat exotic.
A bit warmer down there, I suppose. But that's it. Sorry, my lord. I can't record much. Wish I could help. I hope that the admiral is not in trouble. Is he?
No, not at all.
I, of course. Why would he be?
Spencer could have said not yet, but he did not.
Why would he be? Of course.
And I'll just wander up, pat him on the shoulder. It's like, what, our good friend the Admiral? No. Well, we're just recounting all of these famous stories of his.
He spends most of his time now in the capital. Not so much down here, unless there's an expedition to lead, and I heard that the last one went fantastically. Wish I was still young enough to join him. But alas, I've taken way too many hits. Got shot once, and he sort of rubs his shoulder. Nasty wound. But I healed, mostly. I get a little bit of shivers in the hands once in a while. By trembling and such, but yeah, it's to be expected. Comes with age, I suppose. Age and wear. But if there's anything else I can help you with, I am more than glad to do so. And he takes a big swig of his ale. Scratches one of his dust.
There's nothing for me, but I'm nobody of importance. I'm just here on behalf of my good friend Gregory Farkin.
Hey.
We hope to meet the Admiral someday. so we want to know as much about him as we can, such as his illustrious rise to power.
That piques its curiosity.
You must have wonderful tales of your time with him, actually.
Well, the admiral is not here. If we were to meet him, we would have to go upriver to the capital, like I said. He's generally like going like, that doesn't sound right. You can see the cogs in mind, so that like I feel them like turning, like what? What are you gonna do? He clearly is getting suspicious.
Yes, what does Spencer do?
I'm
Yeah.
thinking, we hadn't known that he was so close, or otherwise we might have gone right there. But the night is young. We may yet go downriver to see him, or if not tonight, then soon. But he is a fascinating man, do you not agree? A
Oh,
man
yeah.
who can coordinate so many ships across such a vast ocean has to have a keen mind.
The admiral is brave,
Oh, yes, there's no doubt about that.
I love everyone's
boisterous, brave, um, easygoing. You feel comfortable around him. You feel like you could do anything, and we have, and we have. I have to say that my retirement would have been worse if we have not captured so many ships. I didn't get a big purse myself, cut of the purse, but it's enough. My waning days. I can't count myself as being wealthy or even rich, but I do fine. You probably hear anyone who's worked with him will tell you the same.
I'm sure. He's had such a brilliant career fighting pirates and foiling such skullduggery upon the seas.
That he has. Smugglers, too. He's taking them on them as well. Yes. He almost has a very keen nose for it.
Yes, it seems almost supernatural, but some people just have a head for these things.
I did not see any sorcery, sir. I guarantee you that. Unless we
Of
were,
course not.
gearing for a major battle, in which case we would take battle mages, people who hurl fire and such.
Warlocks.
But yes, I suppose that's the term. I'm not. I'm more of a gun and sword man myself, or used to be. But aside from that, I've never seen anyone around the admiral that I know of that possesses such abilities. So I want to know if it was sorcery or what have you. It's beyond my ken to know, I suppose.
Out of character, Spencer will, of course, dismiss his incorrect use of the word sorcery as the green mages are the sorcerers. And of course, Spencer's not wearing his robe right now since he doesn't need it.
Right.
Well, you can't fault a man for his luck, can you, Gregory?
No, of course not. I think I'm about to
I
have a
mean,
good lucky streak over here.
Yeah, just look at you. Noble, handsome. You have women just dripping off of you.
This is all true. I'm not. I keep losing the ball. I'm not on the ball today. But, I think at this point Gregory might be like giving a sign over to Spencer to, just like, yeah, it's not, doesn't sound like anything from over on this side of the table. So maybe it's about time to go ahead and stop. So Gregory's just giving you a little bit of that signal, and maybe we'll find something else.
All right. Well, then Spencer will engage in a little more small talk, something somewhat off topic to not again accidentally raise his suspicion, and we'll take our leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make a roll, a will roll on that one.
Any other dice in that?
And let me see what you can use. You can, if you have leadership, you could use it because he's an ex-soldier, so he would respond to that. Or deceit.
I'll use leadership. I
Yeah, you
don't
have
have
to.
a favorite use of leadership, but I think I'm going to use it for rallying, especially a shade. So I'll just keep that 5.
Yeah, he only had one success, so I mean, you get the feeling that he's, assuaged, right? That he doesn't seem to be uh, very much still suspicious, but he might talk to other people if asked, right? And you left it in a way that a very open-ended conversation. So it's like, well, yeah, sure.
Okay. So
Does he seem like he might talk more to a fellow soldier than to someone in the king's finery?
I suppose so.
The last gasp of desperation is to look to Harmon and say, he looks like he can talk.
Oh, it was an idea. Maybe it was a bad idea.
Okay. Then, I guess given all things, we're probably staying the night in town, and, might head out in the morning, but I'll convene everyone and go. Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure we're gonna head out to the Southern Isles right now, though.
Right. But it's a good clue if we do want to speak to Haddock's cousin, if she is his cousin.
If we could even find her.
Yes. The place is bound to be swarming with lions.
Well, as far as it goes, no one at least under his command seems suspicious. They only have good things to say about him, despite maybe a, lackluster tactical mind despite success.
I'm not even sure why he's even on our list at this point.
Well, he is because he has this very suspicious habit of ferreting out pirates that no one happens to have known about before, and then having a massive success taking them all in. Almost as if he's been informed beforehand.
And his success does not quite gel with the fact that he doesn't really have a very keen tactical mind.
And we have the captain that we captured before, who also likewise has his suspicions that how were they possibly discovered if, no one was on the inside or happened to have spilled it?
Well,
These were all
obviously
foreign
somebody was on the
mercenaries who
inside.
were brought over, and it almost seems as if they're being paid to be set up into positions specifically to be defeated to increase his legacy.
That's not impossible. That would be extremely expensive.
It would be, which, if he were financed by a king who happens to have plenty of money, or through numerous noble houses who have some interest in it, then I mean,
Somehow the pirates that are being set up as the fall people would have to be oblivious to all of this because uh only a few of them would have to speak out against it.
right. So everything that he does, he probably doesn't do around his crew, that's for certain. Well, maybe someone else handles it for him.
And also, you were mentioned, especially by the Lady Chancellor, that
Hmm.
that he has a very that he's been either has a very close relationship or being groomed by the youngest king,
Hmm.
who is
I think that was actually
King
Edward.
Edward of Telway. Yeah, the one that is ideologically opposed to Edgard.
Hmm.
You know, Edgard is the conservative, Edward is the liberal, more thinking minding, and the one that didn't. Well, there were three of them, so of course two of them would not be selected. One of the ones that were not selected, and it is in the southern lands of the middle brother that the pavilion will be held. So not only did his brother, the elder brother, got it selected, then it's his middle brother who gets to do the big shindig, and the younger brother gets nothing.
Right, and he's
I
in position
mean,
to have a admiral to the High King and control of the navy, and you never know what's gonna happen there.
and he's also the one that is the one that seems to be the more Calambrian minded,
Hmm.
or has more Calambrian connections.
Right,
Which, considering everything has happened in recent events, it raises a few flags.
of course.
I mean, you might end up not saying that the admiral is nothing more than a very lucky lion, but
Hmm.
that's what you're supposed to find out. You know what's going on.
Right. So far we haven't really found much evidence for that. We found more and more suspicions, but we don't have like a direct lead yet. We do have our pirate captain, who over the ensuing weeks has presumably helped in some way or given us some lead that we can work with. But barring that, it's hard to say where to necessarily attack the Admiral other than to specifically watch all of his interactions and then follow everyone else and see where they go or what they do.
Oh,
Which, spying on a high official is also not always great.
They
well,
also said that, and I'm sorry, I didn't make this very clear. That
Hmm.
you verified both rumors. You verified that in fact there was this cousin that really went into the ship, you know, and demanded. So the scene was verified not
Yeah.
only by the person you're talking to, but other people, uh, and that supposedly, you know, their cousins, the admiral is supposed to come from the city, but the cousin didn't sound like somebody who came from the city.
yeah, she
Right.
sounds like she's from a different island entirely.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
so that's actually a fun question. That wouldn't like disqualify him from like being a high admiral or something, right? What would the implications of this be if he weren't like from the Central Isle as he says he is?
Well, if it depends on who these people are, right? What's their reputation?
Hmm.
Because if it matter of reputation and why he got so angry that this person showed up, you know, and even he said, that he has been in battle and he got so angry he'd never seen him that angry before, right?
Yeah.
Somebody and he's describing someone who's jovial and leading from the front. You saw him as someone very confident, right? He didn't seem like somebody who was, pushing people around, maybe a little dismissive of people who are below him, but he's supposed to be from relatively humble origins, right?
Hmm.
Somebody who came up the ranks. So who are this cousin or cousins, and why he's so angry that this happened, and why they were looking for him, right? And there could be many reasons, but I would say that the thing to investigate here is whether or not it affects his reputation as a gentleman and an
Hmm.
officer, right?
Yeah, because that cousin angle, her being from a different isle, people do move over the course of a generation. So perhaps some far off relative back in the past moved to the different isle, and then that's where her branch of the family now sits, and the admiral's is on his island.
Right. I mean, if it were true he weren't from there, it would end up being sort of minor scandal, i.e. he's been lying to all of us the whole time about his past, but it's not so critical it would like fire him, but it would maybe keep people from trusting him again for a while. Aside from his closest. But we're not necessarily out to get blackmail, though. I mean, we could. It does seem like it might be worth investigating, but it's hard to say if that would be the thing most worth investigating. Thoughts? Do you think this might lead somewhere? Do you think maybe he's actually working with his family?
They could be pulling strings for him.
See,
Actually, that's another question. He claims no patent of nobility, does he?
Exactly.
well, he's an
But-
admiral, so he's got naval authority.
Right, he
Yeah.
has like a new wave of rich authority, but he doesn't have like I've been a noble the whole time authority. That's slightly bigger, actually.
It's a little weird, but it's Calabria. Calabria's a little weird like that.
Calabria actually has a middle class. How strange.
Well, you still usually put nobility in charge of the army. That's where officers versus enlisted men comes from.
Right. Well, the bigger concern is that why would he be lying about his nobility if he has it? What does that serve? Is it strictly to become a bigger figurehead for the common people in some way?
Well, I'm not getting a pro-commoner vibe from this. I mean, the entire point of turning in pirates for money, well, first of all, is to earn money. If you're a privateer, it's to earn money. But if someone's bankrolling you to do it, it also upholds the state. So if you wanted to destabilize the nobility, you wouldn't do it by hiring someone to arrest commoners.
It's just so strange, and I can't put my finger onto exactly why. Because you are
Someone
correct.
wants to bolster the admiral's credibility by having him be more successful at privateering for some purpose. If we accept the idea that he's somehow not good at finding pirates. The other thing I can think of is that someone is actively trying to destroy the pirates from within, which seems a little more likely to me. That the admiral just happens to be a good fall guy for it.
Well, the pirates that the captain we interact with, already admitted that there were nobles in the Isles who were funding these activities for some specific ends.
In Calabria.
Yeah.
What's the sorry, quick question. What's the punishment for piracy? Is it just death?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
Death by hanging.
There's not like labor, whatever we call
No,
it.
we
Labor
basically
camps.
negotiated for like specific conditions for the one person.
It would be highly.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say it'd be highly unlikely for indenture. Usually, when someone is arrested, put into slavery, that's for reparations. Like, hey, you stole all our stuff, so you need to give us all the money back and more. And the other person says, well, I can't do that. I don't have any money because I'm not rich. They go, off to the salt mines with you. But with a pirate, it's pretty much guaranteed that in order to succeed at piracy, at some point you had to commit murder because you had to kill the other people aboard the ship. And so, since you can't bring the dead back to life, then yeah, the crime for piracy, is almost always, hanging.
How long ago was the last bring in, his last haul?
The one we were a part of, so
Yeah,
like a week or two.
No,
Really? Okay, and are all those guys dead already?
yeah, most of them are already. They
We
hanged
have
them
the
when
one.
Most of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one.
Never mind. That was my whole thing.
Yeah, they actually were building the gallows when you went into.
Yeah.
You went into. So it's been close to a month.
Here's a random speculative idea. Tell me how this pans out to your mind. A certain someone of high position decides to send money to his nobles to specifically purchase from other nobles from afar to set up smuggling routes, and he wants to get lots of stuff in. He gets lots of stuff sent, and before he finishes paying for it, he has an admiral go to the pirate bases, take all the smuggled goods, and then distribute them back to himself. At which point, he suddenly has quite a lot of goods. That he wanted. He hasn't had to pay for them, and he looks good doing it. And maybe even the other parties in Calabria aren't even aware that this is occurring because they see two different parties involved, the nobles and the higher authority. That's a stretch, of course, but it does pop into mind. Perhaps one of the easiest ways to find out more information would be to maybe find some pirates of our own.
Well, in a way,
We did.
you already had a contact with a smuggler,
Mhm.
and your actual crew were smugglers / miners, so they didn't know who they were selling all
Yeah,
the
they
ore
were
to.
working for Felix, who had contact with other people, who he says that they played close to the chest. But I think they were obviously Calabrian. He was
Yeah.
selling off to. Yeah, yeah. So that fits. So Calabria is still definitely a player or agent provocateur of all this. I know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry.
Uh,
I'm trying to put stuff in the notes as it comes up, but I could use some help with that.
mhm.
I can't find any way to link the fifth column of people who are trying to destabilize the land nobles with bolstering this admiral. So I don't think those two parties are related. I can't see any connection.
Mhm.
I didn't think they were connected.
No, I mean I don't think they're connected either. I mean, in theory, the people who are also, the people who are fostering unrest among the locals are also highly trained and have ample resources. I mean, they produced that gun from somewhere to use as the assassination weapon. So, not to mention, they had a reasonably trained assassin and a certain level of loyalty. So that would mean that if they're not connected, that means that we would have two conspiracies going on instead of one. Not impossible, but frightening.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so, but yeah, I can't figure out because the admiral's not even a pretender to the throne. So if this was an elaborate scheme to make them look better for some sort of political gain, I'm not sure what they gain by this. The admiral doesn't seem to be a likely candidate or puppet for anyone.
Well,
That's why
he is for the young King Edward, who now will have command of basically the High Navy through his proxy, which is not the worst possible thing. But the question is this orchestrated?
you guys seem to think so. I mean, I lack evidence. I'm mostly
Of
thinking
course.
that somebody wanted to disrupt piracy and just on their own initiative started ratting these people out. That's the simplest explanation to me, since we don't think the admiral's actually behind it.
Right. I don't have any evidence, of course, as you say. I only have pure speculation. The only thing for us to do would be to try to follow up on his family and see why is he hiding his nobility. Maybe that might illuminate more questions we can ask, but
Hiding nobility is very strange because uh, having blood gives you privilege, and why anyone would forsake that privilege, that may even be a crime to say you're not noble when you are. That's
Oh,
really weird. I would have to look that up. I mean, because you might be.
yeah.
I mean, he's on the hook for certain levels of inheritance and responsibility.
Yeah, even if
So,
not illegal, it is scandalous.
I mean, the High King can make other nobles underneath them responsible to do certain duties. So if you had nobility and there was an open call for you to come to defend the king and you didn't, that would be a problem.
Hmm.
That would be a reason to deny your nobility if you didn't want to be pressed into some sort of service. But if you were going to do that, why would you captain a ship?
Yep. So we have. What do we have right now then? We have the strange cousin. we have the large amount of supplies from the captured pirates, which don't match their numbers, which we don't have an answer for that or a lead. We have the suspicious nature of him finding these pirates, as if he has some talent for it. Um, and of course we have his connections with Edward.
I mean, I could see how the fifth column might be both destabilizing the Calabrese here and destabilizing the pirates because they're both against the best interests of the people. But I'm more curious about the people of this place. I think the problem with us focusing on, for lack of a better term, great person theory, and focusing upon whether there are certain people of strong personality who are behind everything, I think is ignoring the fact that we know there's at least people of high loyalty and ideology all linked together to each other. And I think, like, there are people here who are speaking for the land. There's someone out here that's bigger than Lady Veritas, and that's what I want to find out what that is.
Of course. Well, I guess in that vein, if we want to find another Lady Veritas, maybe this cousin isn't too far from that. So I think our options for actually proceeding are either to A, go investigate her, which I think we seem to be agreed upon, at least to discover what's going on, or B, to try doing this from the bottom up, find pirates and interrogate them. Which hasn't been forthcoming, quite honestly.
Well, if
It's
you'll
like they're
excuse
guarding
me,
their tracks.
I am going to suggest that my resources would be best served if I go back to the clergy and continue to serve the common good of people, because even if that doesn't get me any closer to finding the fifth column, I will have served the common good. And that's just,
Very
on
true.
my list.
Of course.
So I think I think that's what I'll go do, because that's, my office here is to promote Calabrese ideals and religion. And if you need me, you can come get. Does that sound good?
If I went to the Southern Isles lesson,
Hmm.
how long of a trip would that be?
Not that far, about 2 3 days. Basically, you're crossing right through the Emerald Sea. Again, I described it as it's an archipelago, but it's
So
four
I
major
could basically
islands.
spend the week going out there, getting the information, and coming back.
Yeah.
And how long until like the big event anyway?
Well, the big event will be at the end of this month, and it will be in the Southern Isles. So those things.
So we have like a whole month before we have to go do something else.
Yeah.
Okay. And Spencer, I suppose you could come with me to make sure that we investigate this. Harmon, you're my guard, so you'll be coming with us, and you will keep an eye on things at home in case anything happens, and of course you have my authority to do as you need to, if anything should happen. And other than that, so I guess the plan going forward is we'll return to the city for now. I already promised I would have tea tomorrow, so I can't miss that. And then I'll head out and I'll spend a week doing an investigation and return with what I have.
So you depart on the ship. This time it's the rowers get to work. The crew gets to row upriver. And
Quick side story. So the tea thing is serious. I was going to talk with Victoria about her feelings and what
okay,
and the event and being her escort and all of that, and see how she feels. If you want to just bridge over that for now, that's fine. But
no, I think it's very important because it's there's more to it than just your character.
Okay.
So yeah. So you get back. It's evening. So it's late. No, it's early. You manage to get there, but you're a bit tired, right? Because be traveling and talking to people and all that. And maybe had a couple of strong drinks. So you get there. Here's another salon, right? Another of the many people that are the extended court, as it were. minor nobles,
Mhm.
sort of they're like butterflies and moths. They just sort of flutter
Of
around.
course, they come in and out.
And of course, the discussion is, what's next? It's all about the Velvet Pavilion, and you can find that unlike other situations where most people were kind of equally divided, like
Mhm.
people literally, if you walk into a room, you could almost tell by who they were that this is the people that are talking over here, that faction, and that people from that faction, and that people from that faction, right? The
Mhm.
open faction who wants to support each other. But now, basically, the two factions that are of the older and middle supporting the older and middle kings, sons, they sort of coalesced, and the people who are still there because they're part of the activities and all that, who are more supportive of the younger Edgar, right? Younger king are not only uh, in their own little corner still, but there's less of them. You notice a couple of people that talk to them, and they said they're sort of joining the other faction. So clearly, already, and this is something that most people who are not nobles would never pick up because they don't spend much time with people, they don't listen to what they have to say.
Mhm.
But this, so it's like literally walking on the map on the aisles if somebody were redrawing the map right in front of you. The political
Right, the
map. Right.
power has already shifted, the legitimacy is clear, and the people who don't have pawns in the game are like, yeah, we're gonna keep with the legitimate thing.
So DC, this is the again to a commoner, someone else was like, I don't know, they're just people talking in a party, right? But to
Actually,
you,
the funny thing is,
yeah,
it makes the hardliners even more interesting. You have to wonder what they know that makes them stick to it.
yeah. But there are less of them now.
Mhm. Less
In
and
fact,
less.
you hear modern is like, oh, especially from that group, you hear modern is like, oh, this is giant step backwards. We're going to go back probably a century or so. We're making so much progress.
Oh, how
While the other,
so?
well, everybody knows that the would-be king, he is a traditionalist. Uh, he says he wants to put more controls over wizardry and magic. He speaks openly of being more openly religious, especially with these druids. I haven't seen a druid ever in my life. What are they doing here? They just pop up every so often, say a few words, and they're gone. But now everyone knows his court is full of druids, these wolves in sheep's clothing, and there's like a noble who is a lupine, and he's sort of walking. She's walking, and she sort of looks like her ear twitch. It's like,
Yeah.
excuse me, like
And
that if
everyone just
anywhere
immediately
else,
goes, no offense, of course.
yeah, no, and she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. Like she knows that she was heard,
Mhm.
soft voice, right? And she does not apologize like that, right? But she doesn't do it in a way that they're facing, right? But she's facing you. But it's
Right,
that kind of
right. Let them
blatant.
hear.
Let them hear my voice. Like I'm not afraid to say this, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and she's like, yes, of course, that's gonna happen. Everybody knows that trade with the Calambrians, especially Transylvanian, is vital to the Isles. I mean, where am I going to get my silks from?
Oh, of
The
course. I wouldn't
moon,
imagine being without my own silk sheets at night. But I do have to
and
wonder. But
and the new varieties of tea and everything. It makes no sense. We are going to go backwards.
do you think he
And
would
somebody
just
says,
cut off trade entirely? Surely.
"Well, I don't know," but he's know his attitude about this ancient honor and warrior spirit. This is the era of the merchant and the coin, and those who do not know this will fall by the wayside. And we have suffered so much. You know how much grain we're getting from Calabria? You don't know that, do you? How we keep the granaries going?
Oh, I'm afraid I'm
How
not so into bureaucracy as that. But please, you seem
well,
so informed.
you're a magistrate. I'm making pretty good silver out of those grain deals. Well, the price is going to go up certainly if we get it wrong. We get where we're going.
Hmm. But the weather seemed just so
We had drought.
favorable, perhaps we won't even need it.
It'll take more than a couple of days of sunlight to dry the fields. And if it does, and we end up with another drought, possibility considering everything has happened. But I mean, we're horrible.
Well,
I want
one
to say
can hope.
I don't want to say this, but I heard some of my mates rumbling the other day. They don't think I listened. It's Fogey doesn't know what he's saying. Blah blah blah. But they're getting restless.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, they're getting restless, angry even. Not kind of happy when they heard the news, of course, but well, you know. And you always have to keep your eye on the help. Always.
It is true. They are known to run their mouths at their will, but,
And you heard about that thing in the cathedral?
Oh,
There's a scandal
what
about
happened?
that.
What?
I heard somebody wanted to do something. I heard this idiotic rumor of somebody trying to blow it up. How do you blow up an entire cathedral? That's impossible.
Yes, that's purely ridiculous.
But people listen to those rumors, and they start believing you can do stuff like that. I mean, like you would allow something like this. I mean, for
Of
that to
course,
happen,
not
the
on my sort of watch.
magistrates should be all out on vacation or something. And we know you're the best. I know you're the best.
Oh, well, truly I'm flattered. And
No.
so long as I remain the best, I'll keep the best interests of the public in mind. I would never allow such a ridiculous sort of thing to happen.
And assassination attempts? I do not believe for a moment that the ambassador was the target. I think it was a member of the Privy Council.
Terrible news if that were true. But what a shame.
And it so happens that less than a month later, the king reemerges and finally decides to select his oldest son to be his heir. I mean, yes, the Privy Council has to approve it, and the other kings have to approve it, and etc. The moot has to be put together and all that. But the king's word carries weight. It turns out that the person that was targeted, that Privy Council, was in favor of reform. She says calamity. He was like, and she actually says reform, openness. There's an entire world out there, trade, money, opportunity. But he's still recovering somewhat from his wound. But he couldn't tell the king not to do this, piss away his best opportunity.
Well, at least he's still alive.
Well, so they tell us. I wouldn't be surprised if he's 6 feet under some pit somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure he's in good health.
Oh, I hope so. But you see what I'm saying, right? It makes no sense. We're going backwards. And all those idiots over there, they can't see where they're going. Right into the pit. I mean, the man means well, or his future majesty means well. But you know what they say? Paving and good intentions and all that.
Well, still, maybe it's still for the best. Maybe we just need to look on the bright side of things. You must have heard about all these pirates that are out there these days. They're all foreign, aren't they?
I mean, I've heard about them, but you know, money attracts thieves. I'm basically saying that we should be more careful. Yeah, yes, trade is important, but one does not simply toss a bag of coin in the middle of the street. There's no way to survive. You lose a bag of coin, and then you'll probably lose your life, getting trampled over by all the people. So it's like that. The admiral seems to be doing a good job of corralling everything. I even heard that he's going to implement a escort system. He's been pushing for it. More ships, more crews, more security, more guns too.
Fascinating. An interesting expansion, and probably, honestly, well worth it.
Well, there you go. That's where the money is. And he seems like a spirited lad. His heart is in the right place, as you say. So
A jovial fellow if ever I've heard of one.
he's supposed to be a commoner, But I suppose that if you earn your right to be an admiral, you have, well, earned your right to be an admiral. You want reliable people, of course. You know, you can't dismiss all of the commoners just because they're commoners. A good leader has a keen eye for, for these things. You pick and choose the best and elevate them where they need to go. In fact, I heard a rumor once that King Edwin was pushing for the admiral to be made a nobleman, equal to his station. Hasn't
Oh,
happened yet.
very interesting. Well, what's taking it so long, I wonder? It seems almost as if he's deserving of it.
So, but the thing is that, well, I also heard a rumor that the admiral turned it down.
Why would he do such a thing? Such an odd move.
I have no idea. Maybe he's very humble, I suppose, for whatever that's worth. I mean, he is a
Humble
man
and
of,
yet climbing to the rank of admiral? I'm not so certain about that.
that's what I heard, of course. People say the oddest things. Sometimes they don't make any sense. I'm sure what happened was that he was going to have the position, but certain somebodies, and again she looks over at the larger group, blocked it because, like I said, just because you're a commoner doesn't mean that you may not have certain abilities, and that we have to elevate those people. We have to cherish the fact. I mean, it's like if a man does not take a risk, he cannot.